Belarus continues to prosecute the case of Homel freelance journalist Jauhen Merkis. He covered the protest following the 2020 presidential election and he is accused of extremism.
Lawyer Alexei Khvyshnякov is considering the case behind closed doors. It is not known what terms the prosecutor requested. On May the 30th, Merkis will make a closing speech, after which the verdict will be announced. From the message of the Telegram channel Vesna.
But the political prisoner activist of the European Belarus civil campaign Palina Sharenda-Panasiuk renounces Belarusian citizenship in protest against torture, her husband said.
She no longer wants to have anything to do with the occupation regime established in Belarus, a regime that destroys the independence of Belarus, the regime participating in the war of occupation. Palina emphasizes that she remains a Belarusian and a patriot of her motherland Belarus, and will fight for its freedom until the end of her life. Palina asks international humanitarian and human rights organizations to follow her fate and do everything possible to release her and all political prisoners. Andrei Sharenda, husband of a political prisoner, in an interview with Belsat.
Palina was detained and sentenced to 2 years in January 2021, accused of using violence against police officers as well as insulting self-proclaimed President Lukashenko. Last year, she was charged with yet another case, malicious disobedience to the administration of the colony. Today, according to the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Belarus, 68 more names have been added to the list of extremists. Now it has 2,868 people, despite the fact that Minsk is increasing the pace of persecution and tightening the criminal law. There are no fewer people resisting the regime.
They are subjected to inhuman torture, regardless of age, illness or anything else. Political opponents are sentenced to 10 years or more. That is, in fact, the Stalinist political regime is today's in Belarus, with brutal persecution of all opponents. Every day we hear information that someone has been arrested, someone is on trial, someone has been declared a terrorist, someone an extremist. As for the resistance, there are such people. People who protested in 2020 remained in opposition. I don't think they have changed their position on this.
The fight against civil resistance is the main vector of work for the security forces of Belarus. You can get a prison term for anything if it is contrary to the policy of the dictator. However, even the fear of being imprisoned does not stop the internal resistance in the country. The human rights organization Human Constanta notes an increase in the demand for forceful resistance to the Lukashenko regime.
The regime criminalizes any action in order to quell dissent. The more people resist, the more criminal cases there will be. If necessary, the authorities will come up with a wording later. Dainius Žalimas, head of the Center for Law and Democracy, in an interview with Deutsche Welle.
According to the legal hub expert, we should not expect a significant easing of repression in Belarus in the near future.
Repression will not stop, but it is difficult to say whether they will intensify or remain at the current level. But we can say for sure that they will not stop and will not decrease, and will continue as long as Alexander Lukashenko is in power. The trigger for change is probably the success of Ukraine in the Russian war, the sharp weakening of the Putin regime. Then, according to the domino principle, Lukashenko himself may have problems.
At the same time, the head of the Center for Law and Democracy, Dainius Žalimas, is sure that the current regime in Belarus will last no more than 3 years and that all those involved in the repressions will be punished. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.